Okay, so I had to write this down because I was like, even though I probably can name all eight of the original Showa Era Gamera films, I should write them down, have them in order, so that way it'll be a little bit smoother to go through. So, let's talk about it. What do I think of the Showa Era Gamera films, and what order would I put them in? So we're going to start off. I mean, this is probably everybody's statement. Gamera the Super Monster is the worst of the Gamera films. Simply put, it is a clip show movie with very little new footage, and the new footage is about these superhero women and stuff, and it's weird. It's very meh. It was made in, I believe, the early 80s, where the rest of the films were in the 70s. Um, and it's one that you can easily pass. Now, the next one, this one would be number 7, Zigra. Gamera versus Zigra. And the reason for this is it's a forgettable film, to the point where I almost forgot that it existed. I do put it above Gamera Super Monster because at least there's original footage and there's a kaiju, a new kaiju, which the shark like monster is pretty neat, but it's a forgettable film. Um, then the next one after that, number 6, Gamera versus Virus. And a large amount of this is because there's the trope Kennys, and there were two Kennys, and they were very annoying. Virus as a squid-esque monster is pretty neat, um, and that he is literally like all the aliens. Um, and the fight was a bit brutal, but the movie overall was okay. Now, here's where I probably have a controversial take, which is Gamera the Invincible, the very first Gamera film. And the reason for that is it's an okay film, but it's way too much of a carbon copy of Godzilla. To such a point that it literally takes certain things beat for beat from the original Gojira. Um, but it is a good starting point. Up next, we have Gamera versus Jiger. Now, Jiger is a very interesting kind of Triceratops esque monster, and it can implant parasites using its tail, which definitely made it a very interesting character, and one of the first female kaiju, of a very small list of female kaiju. And she was pretty neat. The movie was all right. Um, a large portion of it was them trying to get rid of the parasite inside of Gamera. And overall, it's a fun movie. Now we're down to the. Did I miss any? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, I didn't. All right, I'm just double checking my list. I'm like, I feel like I'm going through this little quick. Now we're going to the top 3. And the first one is Gamera versus Barugon. Not to be confused with Baragon, because Baragon is a Godzilla monster, or I should say from, that universe. And Barugon is a lizard with ice powers, but who had a weakness to water and could shoot rainbows out of its back. And what was kind of neat was the movie lost a lot of color throughout the film because it was in and out of color, but that rainbow really stands out at that point. Having an ice monster fighting a fire monster like Gamera is also pretty neat, and it was the first one of the Gamera films to involve a different kaiju for him to fight. Um, Now my number 2, the penultimate, Gamera versus Giron. I liked this movie a lot. In fact, it's one of the first ones that I showed my kids because I find it to be, even though some of the fights can be brutal, it's more kid friendly. Um, Giron is a very interesting villain because it's a giant knife head who can shoot shurikens out of his nose, and he's pretty neat. he defeated the Space Gyaos. Um, it pretty much at the beginning of the movie, and Gamera's got one of the silliest things, which is when he's spinning around on the pole like a gymnast. So now we get to the number one, and this one is probably everybody's favorite as well, which is Gamera versus Gyaos. Gyaos became one of the mainstay kaiju for the Gamera films. This bat-like creature who goes around eating people, which, by the way, the newer Gamera from the 90s definitely pushed that up a bit, and there were more of them. Um, it's it's a fun movie. It's the first time Gamera fully cements his position as the friend to all children, and it's just fun. Lots and lots of fun. And if you haven't seen the Showa era, I do suggest checking at least the top 3 to 5. I mean, you might want to watch the original, and then the other ones with those monsters are also really good, especially with Gamera Rebirth coming out at some point. Still waiting for that. So, yeah, have a good day.